Hello everyone, welcome to Skillify by Amity Online. I am Dr. Shweta Sagar. I am PhD in HRM and working as an assistant professor with Amity University Online. Today I will be talking about the woman's relative worth of unpaid work. Before starting with the topic, I would like to briefly explain that what is the unpaid work. The literal meaning of unpaid work is the work which is not being remunerated or the work which is not being paid. Under the purview of the unpaid work comes the caregiving and the basic domestic work, including the cleaning, preparing food, laundering, taking care of the children, sick, elders. Basically, the every household work that we all do in our daily lives. We all know that around the world, most of the unpaid work is done by the women. Whether the woman is involved in the job or not, whether he or she is working or not, they're supposed to spend the more time on unpaid work. And this unpaid work is being valued less. Why? Because it is being stated that it is the responsibility of a woman to take care of this household work. In every household, we must have heard this term that the girls should know how to cook. Or we can also have heard this thing that चाहे तुम कितना भी पढ़ लो खाना तो बनाना ही है. This mindset has set an unset accountability on the woman to take care of all the household work. Not just through the experience I am saying this, but statistically also this has been proven. A national statistical survey conducted in 2019 found that 91.8% of the Indian women aged between 15 to 59 are being involved in the unpaid work, whereas only 20.6% of men have participated in such unpaid household activities. This gender discrimination in unpaid domestic duties highlight a set of social norms and perceptions regarding a natural responsibility of household division of labor. That means women is naturally being accountable for performing these household activities. In yet another survey conducted by the NSS in 2019, it has been found that a woman spends 299 minutes a day on an unpaid work, whereas the men only spends the 97 minutes in the unpaid work. This unsaid burden of unpaid work has also reduced the participation of women in the labor globally. And this has been identified through the World Economic Forum's Global Gender Gap Report 2021 that the women's participation in the labor work has been decreased from 24.8% to 22.3%. In UN Women Forum, it is being stated that the unpaid work is hardly being considered as work. Rather, it is being treated as a responsibility more. On the contrary, if we focus on including the unpaid work in our GDP, then it can increase the GDP from 10 to 39%. If we'll highlight the interview that is being done by the UN woman expert, the Shahara Rizvi, she has highlighted that a country like Argentina can produce 7% of the GDP through including the unpaid work. And the less developed country like Tanzania can add up to the 60% of the GDP with including this unpaid work. She has also very specifically mentioned that the country like Switzerland includes the unpaid work. Then they have produced the GDP of the 60% that was equivalent to the GDP given by the banking and the insurance sector. Even after spending so much of time and so much of efforts in the unpaid work, this work is not being considered as important. This is very outside being recognized as an economic activity, and it doesn't even covered under the scope of the economic policy. I believe that this unpaid work is the basic foundation of the paid work. Imagine if the man or a woman, whosoever is taking the responsibility of the household, is not being taking care of their families, providing the food, cleaning the house, taking care of the elders or the sick, then how the person who's been working is able to take care of those responsibility? How those people are being able to go to their respective works? So, the negligence of this unpaid work is quite high. Rather, the importance of this unpaid work is quite important. While talking about how the emergence of this unpaid work has been done and how the surge of demanding the housework wages for housework has been started, so it was all started the way back in 1972 in Italy, when the international wages for housework has been launched, which has been later on spread in UK and the US, and then the various wages for housework committees were formed. To deal with the wages of housework, various initiatives have been taken globally. For example, the Selema Jones, founder of the International Wages for Housework campaign, has developed a global women's strike movement that seeks the recognition for all the household work and justice for women's unacknowledged contribution to the labor force. Sweden, the country which is being stated as the Gender Equality Index as the highest level of gender equality, introduced the subsidies to the domestic chores like cleaning, laundering, and ironing. They have actually provided the wages for housework as a subsidy. In India also, the Rural Employment Guarantee Act 2005 was the first national law to have recognized the women's unpaid work burden and address their unrecognized values. On the other hand, it is being mentioned in the Political and the Economical Weekly that the then Minister of Women and Child Development, Krishna Tirath, had mentioned that they are being considering mandating a salary for housework to women from the husband, but it was never materialized. In yet another, in very recent judgment, it is which is being delivered on the 5th January 2021, and it is being there in the Political and Economic Weekly edition of January, that Supreme Court has also mandated that there should be a proper monetary value for the housework which should be given to the men or a woman who are being dealing with the household activities. Although nothing has been materialized yet, but yes, the decision has been come in this favor that the monetary value should be provided. Even after so many efforts done globally, nothing has been systematically formed to address the issue. So, what can be done in this light, and what are the suggestions that were mentioned by the many of the authors in their articles? So, one of the author I would like to highlight here called the Hiraway. She is the professor of economics in CDA. She has also mentioned in her article that the first step to address this unpaid work is to giving it the recognition. That means once the unpaid works comes into the recognition, then only we can provide the policies and the monetary value to that unpaid work. We can do this by using the time use survey that was initially done by the NSS. The another important thing we can do in this light is we can redistribute the work between the men and women while offering the incentives to both the genders for performing the household work. Means we should not discriminate that whether the woman is doing it or the man is doing it. We can actually offer the incentives to them through which they do not feel like that they are doing something uh, unappreciable or they are doing something lower to the official work. No, the unpaid work should be kept at par with the paid work. The another suggestion could be that unpaid work can be linked with the economy so that it can also promote the GDP, and that importance should be given due to the unpaid work. Again, if the unpaid work is being considered within the economy, then the mainstream policies can be made in this direction. I believe that everyone sitting here would agree by this term that unpaid work is no longer a negligible work. Especially the women can relate with me very easily that even after spending the 9 to 6 hours in the office, they have to take care of all their household works back at home after going to their houses. So, last but not the least, I would like to highlight that this opinion of providing the wages for housework is to provide the given due recognition to the work that is not being appreciated by many of the people. In the end, I would like to conclude that the unpaid work deserves a due recognition and wages for the housework, and it should be included in the economy so that everyone should respect this work. So, what is your take on this? Do share your views. Thank you everyone for listening me patiently.